Today we'll be installing the Echomaster IntelliHaul 3-camera wireless towing package, specifically designed for 2014 and up GM full-size trucks with towing mirrors. Before you start, it would be a good idea to place towels or tape around the plastic panels to protect the panels. Next, you'll need to grab the required tools for the install: a 7mm driver, a 10mm driver, a Torx 15, some nylon trim removal tools, and some electrical tape. Everything else is included in the kit. First, we're going to show you how to remove the parts of the car you will need access to for the installation of IntelliHaul. Begin by removing the plastic trim bezel around the radio. Once removed, remove the 4 7mm screws around the outside of the monitor. Now remove the monitor assembly, unplug, and set it aside. Once the dash panel has been removed and set aside, remove the 2 7mm screws from the CD/DVD mechanism. Unplug it and set it aside as well. Next, remove the 4 T15 Torx from the glove compartment. Remove the glove compartment and set it aside. Next, let's move on to the door panel removal. Remove the plastic trim bezel and unscrew the 2 7mm bolts located behind the door handle and in the door pull. Unscrew the 2 7mm bolts from the bottom of the door panel. Using a plastic trim removal tool, unsnap the 4 clips and remove the trim from the armrest and set aside. Once the trim is removed, unscrew the 7mm bolt found underneath the trim. Pulling straight towards you, release all of the plastic clips at the top of the door panel. Be careful, these clips are very tight. Next, unplug the door panel from the door. Do this by releasing the red locking tab from the door wiring harness and then lift up on the gray locking connector. Unclip the door handle release assembly by pressing on the top and removing the cable from the handle assembly. Set the door panel aside. Next, remove the plastic window bezel by removing the 2 plastic push pins and 1 clip located in the sail panel. Set the plastic window bezel aside. To gain easy access to run the wire, remove the speaker by removing 1 7mm bolt at the top. Unplug the speaker and set aside. Now repeat these steps for the other door. Unplug the side view mirror from the door harness using a nylon trim tool. Remove the harness fastener pins from the door. Now remove the 4 10mm nuts holding the mirror assembly to the door, leaving the top one partially on to hold the mirror. Remove the mirror from the door and set aside. Take care when removing the mirror from the door because there are exposed bolts that could scratch the paint of the vehicle. Repeat for the other side. Next, let's remove the passenger side door sills. Using a nylon trim tool, just pry the panels out and set them aside. Remove the rear door sill and set aside. Next, we're going to remove the bottom cap of the mirror to install the mirror pod assembly. Using a plastic nylon trim tool, start from the outside and work your way to the inside until it pops off. Next, remove the top arm cover of the mirror using a nylon trim tool. Now we're going to install the mirror pod extension harness. Here's a tip. This is done easiest by taping a zip tie to the end of the harness and then using the zip tie to route the wire through the mirror. Continue to route the mirror pod extension harness alongside the factory wiring and to the inside of the mirror assembly. Now install the mirror pod to the mirror assembly. Now we're going to route the camera extension harness to the inside of the vehicle from the door. Here's a tip. Tape a zip tie to the end of the harness to make routing the wire easier. Next, you'll need to cut a small hole into the grommet to pass the wire through. And now route it from the factory door boot into the interior of the vehicle. Now reinstall the side view mirror, holding it in place with one 10mm nut. Refasten the factory harness and plug it back into location. Plug the IntelliHaul camera power supply in, and then into the extension harness, and then zip tie into place using the provided zip ties. Now run the main camera harness through the cavity in the dashboard behind the CD/DVD and out the bottom of the dash. Then route the camera extension harness to the rear of the vehicle, ending at the bottom of the rear window. Next, we'll be installing the wireless receiver. Using the provided double-sided tape, stick the wireless receiver to the bottom of the rear window. Now we'll mount the IntelliHaul module to the bracket using the 4 provided screws. Here we go. Let's make the module connections. First, plug in the 8-pin power T-harness, and then the 16-pin camera extension cable. Using the provided zip ties, fasten them through the holes provided. Here would be a good time to set the dip switches for the vehicle and make sure they are correct for your application. Now we'll mount the IntelliHaul module. First, grab the CD/DVD player, plug it back in, slide it back into the dash. Next, slide the IntelliHaul module directly above it, aligning the 2 7mm bolts on the sides. Now we'll run the LVDS cables from the dash opening to the glove compartment opening. Locate the HMI high in the glove compartment cavity. Unplug the blue LVDS cable and plug it into the female LVDS cable from the IntelliHaul module. Next, plug the male cable back into the HMI. And finally, you'll need to mount your wireless camera to your trailer and make your power connections. First, choose a spot to mount your camera and mount using the 2 provided 10mm bolts. Next, route the wire harness to the trailer's parking light harness. Connect the red wire to the 12-volt parking lamp wire. Now connect the black wire to the trailer's ground wire or chassis ground. Next, you'll want to test the system and reinstall the panels once you've verified correct function. For more information, please contact us at 866-766-2267 or email at gmsupport@echomaster.com.